taking a chance. Telling me to dance, taking a chance.
Wow, that's so cool.
I love the beginning.
Every time. Every time.
Thank you, Diana, for doing that for us.
That is so cool. We sound hip is what we sound on there.
So hip.
So welcome everybody to the Isn't It Romantic Book Club. Tonight we're going to be chatting with Pintip Dunn about Dating Makes Perfect. Even if you haven't read the book, you'll definitely want to join in. We always have lots of laughs and fun. So definitely watch anyway. I'm Abbie Roads. I write dark romantic thrillers. I tell people think something like an episode of Criminal Minds meets a love story with a paranormal twist. And here's a little stack of all of my books. Like I can't even get them all showing. There they are. So on to you, Jennie.
Hi, everybody. Jennie Marts here. I write small town stories with humor and heart, with a lot of love, laughter, and always a happily ever after. So I write hockey playing cowboys and cozy mysteries, and I just love pulling up the stack, you know. So I have hot hockey playing cowboys and my new horse rescue series. And oh, this is a good one. How about this? And this one, and my new Hallmark series.
Rescuing Harmony Ranch.
The Rescuing Harmony Ranch, yes. So there you go. That was smooth sailing from Jennie. Let's pass that on to Diana.
Yeah.
You can do better holding up her book.
Hi, I'm Diana Muñoz Stewart. I write romantic suspense for the strong of heart. This is not my book. But I do have one of my
Smooth, right?
So smooth. Broken Promises is out now, and my Black Ops Confidential series is also out. The entire series, there's 4 books in that series. We're so excited to have Pintip Dunn here tonight, and we have an announcement to make about some giveaways that we're doing. We're giving away 2 of Pintip Dunn's books in her series, Forget Tomorrow and Remember Yesterday. And we're also giving away 2 of her books, 2 of her Dating Makes Perfect. And that's international. So if Book Depository ships to you, you can get the book. So comment here and you'll be entered.
Great. My name is Sharon
Did
Wray.
I mention the $20 gift card?
No, you did not.
Sorry. And the $20 gift card. So make sure you comment to be entered. Sorry, guys.
Perfect. No worries. My name is Sharon Wray. It's a little stack of books here. I write and I've got a new book coming out, Love's Last Kiss, coming out later this fall. I write romantic suspense with really sexy green berets and smart heroines and lots of sex and more complex mysteries like Dan Brown type mysteries. So they take you all over. It is my great privilege to introduce Pintip Dunn tonight. Pintip and I just will say this, we've been friends for a very long time before we were published. We were Golden Heart Sisters together. We shared critique groups. So I've known her for a long time. And to see how far she's come, it's just such a great blessing. Pintip is a New York Times bestselling author of young adult fiction. She graduated from Harvard University, magna cum laude, with an AB and received her JD at Yale Law School. Her novel, Forget Tomorrow, won the 2016 RWA Rita for Best First Book. Seize Today won the 2018 Rita for Best Young Adult Romance. Her books have been translated into 4 languages and been nominated for the Grand Prix de l'Imaginaire, the Japanese Sakura Medal, the MSAL Truman Award, the Tome Society, It List, and the Romantic Times Reviewer's Choice Award. Her other titles include Remember Yesterday, The Darkest Lie, Girl on the Verge, Starcrust, and Malice. And Dating Makes Perfect is her first foray into young adult rom-coms. So welcome, Pintip.
Hi.
Hey, it's so glad to be here. I'm so excited to be with y'all.
We're excited to have you.
Yeah.
I haven't seen your face in like what, 2 or 3 years now. And it's like I miss your face.
Right. Well, we used to depend on conferences to see each other, and
I know.
So it's been a while. I haven't even seen Sharon, and we live in the same metro area.
We had lunch right before the pandemic hit. Remember?
Was it right before the pandemic?
It was like February. We had lunch. Then like everything.
Yes.
So it was February 2020. Yeah, it's too long. So anyway, we'll have to make sure we do that again. But welcome, Pintip. We're so happy to have you here.
We are very happy. Hey, so Pintip, I have, before we even get started about Dating Makes Perfect, I want you to tell readers how you type your books out, because I think people will be surprised to hear this.
Okay, well, my cell phone. Everyone has one, but I've written my last, oh my gosh, it's probably been 9 or 10 books now on my cell phone.
Wow.
I'll show you I'll show you my little Scrivener app here. It's like Scrivener, but it's Scrivener for cell phones. But oops, well, you can't see much. But basically, I have fibromyalgia, and what that means is that I can't type on a computer, and I can't even handwrite very well. I can maybe handwrite for a couple minutes, but no more than that. And so I used to have to dictate all my books, and I was not happy with that because we're used to like brain going to hand.
Yeah.
I dictated for about 10 years. That's how I got through law school, but was not something that I preferred to do. And so when I got my very first smartphone, I was like, oh my gosh, I can like tap these little keys without hurting myself. And it was just this big revelation to me. And then people are always like, oh my gosh, like how is, that must be so hard. And like, to be honest, like I would recommend it to everybody. Like it makes it so easy to work. Like you can be at the dentist's office or the carpool line and you just whip out your cell phone and type out a couple of paragraphs or whatever. So I don't know. I think it's super convenient and it's not difficult for me at all. I'm just used to it. It's just my lifestyle.
That's fantastic. I can't even compose. I have problems with texting. I'm like, oh, did I misspell that?
My husband always says that I'm like a teenager and I'm always like giving teenagers a run for their money because I'm always just like,
oh, you must be amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. And then when I'm at a coffee shop, like sometimes I go to coffee shops to work and they're, everyone just thinks I'm goofing off instead of working. And it's like, no, actually I'm working here. It just looks
You're writing a novel on your cell phone. I mean, come on, that's not goofing off.
Yeah. Can you edit on there too, Pintip?
I do. What I can't do is like if my editor gives me notes and I have to do track changes, I can't do that. And so that is actually the most physically challenging part of writing books is having to deal with the track changes because then I like take a pencil, I hold it like this, and then I like basically type on.
Oh, yeah.
It's very, very time consuming. It's very annoying. But when I'm doing my own revisions or if I'm revising for my agent or, anything that does not need track changes, I will do it right on my cell phone. I just have a new file open and we send that to myself and reformat it.
How do you do galley proofs?
Same with typing with a
that's hard.
Pen or pencil. I mean, sometimes I'll enlist help from family members because it really is very tedious. And even when I'm doing edits with track changes, if it's a sentence, I will type it on my cell phone and then I'll cut and paste it and put it into the Word document because at least I don't have to type with a pencil because that takes a long time.
Well, and let me just tell the reader or people who are watching, they might not know what track changes are. Like, I mean, as a writer, track changes are kind of when we get edits back from our editor and like in the actual text, like they've highlighted maybe a word or sentence or a paragraph, and then it goes off to a bubble on the side, that's all computer. They don't write on the manuscript with a pen or pen anymore. It's like a little bubble on the side and they have their comments in there, or they'll go in and add in like correcting your grammar or word choice or stuff like that. And you have to like, as writers, we have to approve those changes or whatever comment they made. We have to decide to, change whatever it is they've told us to change. Yeah. So that's what track changes are.
They typically want to see any changes that you make because they don't want to read the whole manuscript again. They just want to write to like, and like track changes will highlight it in a different color, usually red or blue. And so they can go right to the red or right to the blue to be like, oh yeah, these are the changes she made. I approve. Yeah. So
Mhm.
There's no.
Well, it's speaking of
really.
comments on the side. I forgot to tell you there. If you look on the side here, there's a little button that says comments. If you click on that, you can see that we have some people commenting right now. Like Elizabeth Haney says, "Wow, writing books on your cell phone, that's remarkable. I have fibromyalgia too. Gentle hugs to you." And so you can see little comments here from people. Everyone's really impressed with the cell phone.
I can tell you that I didn't know about track changes when I first became a writer, and I got my first edits back, and I didn't understand what you were supposed to do. No one explained it to me.
Wow.
So I had 2 windows open, and I was literally like looking through the one, trying to find all of the changes, and then putting them into my old manuscript. Like, I did not
Jennie.
like do next.
Wow.
So for all you
That was 25 books ago. So
Yeah,
learn.
And to give some of our readers an idea, sometimes these comments number in the thousands.
Yeah.
So you really don't want to go back and forth.
Yes. There's sometimes where, like, at the end of the manuscript, there's an extra list of the ones that couldn't fit on the page. They've had so many.
Right. Well, let's talk about Dating Makes Perfect.
Yes.
I'm so excited to talk about this book. So I loved all of the food stuff in the book. And I am wondering, are all of these, like, do you cook all the time? Do you make all of these authentic dishes? Like, tell us about all of this food, this amazing food in this book.
What's so funny is that I didn't realize when I first wrote the book that it had so much food in it. I was just kind of writing, the Thai culture. And, my first beta reader was like, oh, wow, like, this made me really hungry. And then I remember, this is really funny. The first couple blurbs I got back in from other authors, and blurbs are just, those little endorsements that you ask other authors to do. They all mentioned food. And I was like, wait, what? Like, why is everyone talking about food when I did not mean it to be a primary focus? But I think it's because food is just such a very central part of Thai culture. It's not just something we eat. It's like, that's how you take care of one another. That's how you show affection. That's how you show love. It's also, just a bond that, people socialize around the dinner table. People socialize around food. And that's how I've always been raised. In terms of the specific foods, those are mostly all of my favorite foods. I do not make all of those. So that might also just be kind of me, missing all of the food in Thailand, because a lot of the ones I've mentioned in there, it's even rare to find at a Thai restaurant, because it's, more like the very authentic homey stuff that you wouldn't have in a restaurant. And I haven't been back in Thailand since the pandemic, and I've been to Thailand every year since I was 6 years old. Sometimes twice a year because my family's there. Not my immediate family, but like all of my, my grandma, all of my extended family. So I've always I go there every year, and I haven't been. So it's partly also I finished writing the book right as the pandemic started. So I think partly it was me.
Well, you can tell that you have a real closeness with your family. I thought that in the book, the closeness of the sisters was so endearing. So do you have siblings, and are you guys close?
Yes, I do. I have a brother who's 11 months older than me, which I did not understand what a big deal that was until I had children. You got pregnant when you had a 2-month-old baby, and then I have a little sister who's 12 years younger. She's my half sister. And I am very, very, very close to both of them. A lot of my books have to do are around family relationships. Like the whole Forget Tomorrow series is also about love between sisters. Malice is love between a brother and a sister. Starcross is, about the relationship between the heroine and her dad. So like all of my books center around family, because family is just so, central to my own life. And I draw a lot of inspiration from the emotions that I have in my own life. Like not so much people in my life, because people are always like, oh, am I in your book? Like everyone thinks they're in my books. And it's like, no, you don't actually have the qualities I need you to have to, work in the story. So no, you're not in the book, but maybe, the emotions you inspire in me, like that completely inspires my characters and inspires their relationships.
So
That's
are you
cool.
the good girl? Because Winnie is described as the good girl. So
I am the good girl. But I think like a lot of Thai American girls who grow up, Thai American, have this pressure to be the good girl. I will say that Winnie is more modeled after my younger sister than me, because I'm the older sister and I'm the much older sister. So I play more the role of the twins than I do Winnie.
Speaking of which,
And
I
what
thought
made you choose? Yeah, what made you decide to do twins?
Well, I know Sharon has twins, so I'm a little embarrassed.
no, I thought you did a great job. We talked about this though, like 2 years ago when you were starting to write this book.
Good. I'm sure I did ask you because I wanted. I'm not sure actually. I don't know if there was a real reason or whether they just kind of popped into my head as twins, but I really liked the dynamic of three sisters. Because I'd already explored like in Forget Tomorrow. There's two of them, and then they're 12 years apart, and I really wanted this dynamic where it's the twins are only a couple years older than her, so they're very much going through the same things that she is, but they do have this wisdom and perspective. And I think I just really enjoyed the banter between the three of them, and that's harder to do with two people. So I think that was probably the reason more than anything else. But I was intimidated because I'm like, oh, I don't know if I can write twins properly because I've never had twins. I'm not a twin.
No, I thought you did a great job, especially the nonverbal communication aspect of it. I thought that felt very, very realistic.
Yeah.
I do that with that all the time. And the other thing that you alluded to, or at least I picked up on, maybe because I'm sensitive to it, is that the sense that when you're with twins, you are always external to the relationship. Even as the mother, I was the driver. I was never the mother.
Yes.
Like I was never the, I was always the pack mule or the chauffeur because it was their relationship's primary.
Right. And that's how Winnie feels too, because she's so close to her sisters, but no matter what she does, she'll never be as close as they are to each other.
Right.
And then that's part of her insecurity, right? That like, she's never going to be as pretty as them, as successful as them, as smart as them. And also she's never going to be as close to them as they are to each other.
Right. That theme of just being yourself is such a big, it's a big thing for her to kind of, the good girl role is very stifling. And if it's, it can really inhibit you.
Yeah. And it was really important to me as well that even though she does have these insecurities, that she's not jealous of her sisters, because I wanted there to be like a super close, super loving, always supportive relationship between them. And I feel like that, is definitely possible. Even if you feel insecure about yourself, that doesn't have to translate into you like wishing ill upon your sibling or anything like that.
That totally came across. It also came across that the parents were very strict. Were your parents strict or?
My parents are strict. I think a lot of Asian American parents are strict just because part of it is just a cultural thing. In Thailand, parents are, I don't know if they're stricter, but they have more, they have different views on, what children should do or shouldn't do. And respect is also a very, very important theme. Not theme, but it's just like since you're born, it's just ingrained in you from birth that you respect your parents, you respect your elders. If they tell you what to do, you don't argue, you don't talk back, you don't just go and do what you want. And I think that's something that's different with American teens. And so being Thai American and growing up in this American culture, that was very much like attention for me when I was growing up, that, this is what I was expected to do. And I wasn't expected to be like, no, but this is my opinion. Like, that's not really, and I'm sure like all of the first generation Thai parents who've immigrated here, they're probably used to all their kids challenging them in different ways because it's a different world, right? It's a different country. But that being said, I don't think my parents were overly strict. They actually,
just more traditional
compared to some other stories I've heard.
I really thought I was going to be a super fun mom that like let my kids just do whatever. And oh my gosh, I'm the most overprotective mom. It's ridiculous. I was always worried they were going to get hit by a car. I don't know. I was so overprotective. I was not a fun mom, I don't think. I was fun if they were home and I could see them all the time and I knew no one was trying to kidnap them.
We've got some questions in the comments. Facebook user, and I'm sorry because it doesn't always show us your name, so I'm sorry I'm calling you Facebook user. When did you know you wanted to be an author, Pintip?
Oh, well, in the first grade, our teacher said, we had this assignment, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I remember I said I wanted to be an author. And I don't know why I said it because I barely spoke English then. I didn't learn any English until I went to preschool. And my parents, the first words, the only words they taught me before I went to school is, can I use the bathroom? Because they figured I would just pick up what I needed to pick up. And that was the really important thing. So, by first grade, I didn't talk very much because I was very insecure of, I had a difficult time articulating my words, and I was just very shy, but part of that had to do with my discomfort with the language. And so I don't know. I think I just would tell myself stories in my head, probably because I wasn't very social and I didn't speak very much. And so maybe that's why I said it, but I feel like I've always known that I wanted to be an author. I was, it took me a while to get there. It was like a long winding path with lots of detours, as I'm sure many authors can attest to.
Yeah, I think probably all of us.
Yep.
Yeah.
It makes total sense to me because you felt like you didn't have a voice because you didn't speak the language. So you really wanted to have your voice. So it makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. But 6-year-old me wouldn't have known that.
Well, and we have another question. Another Facebook user, again, sorry, I can't see, doesn't show your name. Is there anything you would want to change in your writing career?
In my writing career? No, I don't think so. It took me a while to get published. And, Sharon can attest to that because we were in those unpublished trenches together for me, it was quite a long time. I think it was 15 years after I tried to write my first story before I got published. And the reason I wouldn't change that, and I desperately wanted to be published for 15 years. I desperately wanted to be published every single day. But I think the fact that it didn't happen quickly really made me work on my craft a lot. And so by the time I did get published, I feel like I didn't kind of know what I was doing. There's always, always, always more to learn. But I feel like, like the same way that everyone says that everything that happens in your life leads up to you being the person that you are today. I feel the same way with my writing career, that I had to go through all of those experiences. And plus I got I developed a very thick skin.
Yes.
In this industry, you need it.
Oh, definitely. Yes. And we have another question. What is your favorite book that you wrote?
Oh my gosh.
It's like choosing among your children, right?
Exactly. It's like choosing among your children. I bet nobody else up here would want to answer that. I do actually have, I don't know if I have a favorite. I do have books I like more than others. I'm not going to say which books. There are.
They'll get mad at you.
There's one book in particular that whenever people are like, "Oh, I love that book. That's my favorite." I'm like, "Really? Like, why?"
Yeah.
So
I have that book too. I know that feeling.
Okay. Tell me later, Abbie, which book that is.
Right.
But I do have 3 books of the heart. And those books are Forget Tomorrow, Star-Crossed, and Dating Makes Perfect.
Aww. So cool.
I do love all my books, but those are the ones that came straight from my heart.
That's really cool.
Nice.
Pintip, you did such a great job with the tension between building a non-existent love triangle.
Yes.
Right. Right. Because you weren't sure if there was you did a great job. When you crafted that, this is going to be like more of an authorial question. Did you deliberately decide on certain scenes to build that tension between them, or did it just come naturally? Because it really flowed beautifully, but it was so well done. I don't know if I asked the question right, but
Is it, so I see it across the bottom, are you a pantser or a plotter? Is that what you're,
That seemed like what she was asking,
guess
so
so.
I just
did
Yeah.
I, no, I'm,
Diana simplified the question,
Yeah.
Sharon.
she would simplify my next book.
I always say that I'm a pantser who wants desperately to be a plotter, because I feel like plotters like have it so much easier. They don't have to revise as much. It's just, you can get just much cleaner first draft.
Mhm.
I really want to be a plotter. And so I try really hard, Sharon. So I might have tried to map out some techniques. But the truth is, what I discovered, there was one book that I completely plotted. The book that I don't like, actually.
Oh, really?
That book, I'm plotting this whole thing.
maybe that's why you don't like it, because it was so difficult. Yeah.
No, not that it was so difficult, but what I realized was a lot of the times my favorite scenes and the most heartwarming moments and the biggest twists and turns come out while I'm writing. So they're the ones that I don't plan beforehand. And so since I planned that book, there was nothing like,
It's a perfect segue into.
surprising me. It didn't, like, I wasn't surprised by the book. So Sharon, I don't think I plotted those. I think they just kind of came.
Yeah. See, and I say the same thing. It's like, if I know what's going to happen, I don't want to write it because it's not interesting to me. I like to have those moments where I'm surprised by something happening, so that I think if I'm surprised, then the reader will be surprised.
Exactly.
So what is your favorite scene in this book? Diana has down there.
Okay. Gosh, I think it might actually be the first scene, prologue in chapter 1, where they're wrapping the egg rolls together. I think it's my favorite scene.
Yeah, I love that.
Because that was when I was writing that, is when my characters really came alive for me. Like, I saw them all so clearly because of that scene. And I think that that just really informed like the rest of the book, because that scene was just so pivotal in my mind about who they were. And like, more importantly, not who they were, but what their relationship with each other was like. So I think that's my favorite scene. I think the other question was, what was my favorite scene in all my books, which is like kind of a mean question, because if somebody
I'm so sorry.
has that question,
Diana did it, not us.
It was me. It was.
we all have a lot of books and there's a lot of scenes. But I will say there's a scene at the end of Forget Tomorrow that I cried while I wrote it. And in the dozens and dozens of times I've read that scene since I wrote it the first time, I've never been able to read that scene without crying.
Wow. That's a good scene.
That's a great scene.
Yeah.
I loved the scene in Dating.
No scene I'm talking about.
Oh yeah, I love that scene. But I love in Dating Made Perfect. I think my favorite scene was when, in the very first time she's just decorated his car for the first time, and she gets in and he's kind of grilling her about it. And all of a sudden he's cool with it. Like, he's like, okay, we're going to go with this. And it really throws her off. But I fell in love with him then. I just totally fell in love. And I knew there was something else going on. I knew that he was hiding something. Like, he was hiding how he really felt when that happened. Although I have to say, I do love the scene with the vinegar in the beginning on the shirt. That made me laugh.
Yes,
that's great.
That made me laugh too. And my sister was like, that sounds like something I would do. And I was like, oh, why do you think I included it? So
you
go ahead.
Yeah. So you don't know, but we had asked our readers in the group when they were allowed to start dating. And Donna Martin says, I think I was 16 when I was allowed to start dating. The rules were my parents had to meet him first. I had to be home by 9 p.m. during the weekend, 10 p.m. on the weekends. This sounds so familiar.
Yeah, sounds very
familiar. When I was
familiar.
a senior in high school, my parents were strict, but the rules they did have were non-negotiable. So when were you able to first start dating?
I think homecoming freshman year was technically my first date, and they let me go. So I guess I was allowed to start dating then. I don't
14. Yeah.
Yeah, but like, I don't know that they like let me go on dates until I was maybe 16. But they let me go to school dances and things like that.
That's dating.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Stating. Yeah, I
My-
had a kiss at that dance. So
Well, and my parents we would go to the mall and they would walk around looking at whatever they wanted to look at, and they would let me go off by myself. And so if my friends were there or a boy was there, I could walk around the mall with them, so.
I had no rules, so I set my own.
what were your
No, my parents were like hippies, so I set very strict rules for myself.
Listen to you.
It's what happens. When my parents grew up in very strict households of immigrant families, very, very strict. So when they became parents, they were like, "Oh, you do whatever you want." I was like, "No, I can't do whatever I want. No, we're going to be these rules." It would drive my parents crazy. And my punishment as a kid was I would have to go to a party.
Oh my gosh.
Because I would much rather not do that. So that was always my punishment. I like, okay, you're going to this party or you're going to this dance, and we're going to drop you off and wait for you outside.
Oh my gosh, Sharon, I feel your pain because I'm an introvert. That would have been.
That's terrible.
I feel your pain.
I
Feel your
spent the
pain, sister.
majority of my teenage years being grounded. And this might surprise some of you. Some of you that really know me know this won't surprise you at all. But it's because I was always late for curfew. I was always late. I run late everywhere I go. So then I would try to, like, if I had to be home at midnight, I would try to, like, pull into the driveway with my boyfriend and just sit in the driveway, right? Like, I was there by midnight.
Doesn't count.
Yeah, I got in trouble for that.
You're very true.
Didn't count.
Pintip, we've got a few more questions for you.
Questions.
We have, let's see. Do you ever ask your family members to read your manuscripts before they go to your editor?
No.
No.
Well, I'll take that back. My sister is my very first beta reader for every single one of my books.
Oh.
Because she is the biggest cheerleader on the planet.
Oh.
She loves every single thing that I write. And then she will read a manuscript, and then she'll call me, and then she'll want to gush about it with me for 2 hours. And that's really hard to find. And at that
Yeah, it is.
at that stage in your writing, you want to feel optimistic and hopeful and like, yes, this is good. This is, and later on, you can buckle down and look at it objectively and be like, okay, these are the changes I need to make. This is where it's weak. This is where I can make it stronger. But at that moment, when you first finish, you just need someone to tell you how amazing it is. And she does that without fail. So she does, but no one else, like not my husband, not my kids, nothing like that.
Do you have a favorite author or authors? And I'm sorry, I'm not saying the name of the questioner. It just says Facebook user. So
But it'll show up in the group. So we know in the group, but we just don't know.
I have a favorite author. Oh gosh. I mean,
I know.
But that's a really hard question. If we're talking classics, I love Hemingway, I love Jane Austen. Those were the authors I studied in college. If we're talking okay, I'll say this. This is the book that changed my life, literally. The Hunger Games. Suzanne
Oh,
Collins.
wow.
And it changed my life because I was kind of jumping around from genre to genre and trying to figure out where my voice was. And my first book was a chick lit, and then I did a contemporary romance adult, and then I did a literary family saga type thing. And I was just kind of I don't really know where my voice is. And then when I read The Hunger Games, I was like, okay, this is what I want to do. This is the kind of story I want to write. And it really, I honestly think that my career took a sharp turn at that point. Just having knowing, having certainty in that aspect, this is my genre, really helped me kind of focus my thoughts all over the place, my ideas and everything all over the place, really focus it into one thing. And that's when I wrote Forget Tomorrow. Of course, since then, I've written a lot of different genres. and I love them all. What genres do you write? So I write science fiction and thriller and rom-com, and they're all in the young adult space so far. I will share that I am venturing into the adult space with a couple of different.
Yay!
So I'm really, really, really excited about that. But yeah, I think I really like science fiction, thrillers, and rom-coms. So
what is your adult going to be? Is it going to be?
I have two different projects.
Okay.
One's a thriller and one's a rom-com. Surprise!
Oh, neat. That's fantastic.
Wow.
Great.
Wow. That's great.
So
Will you still use your name Pintip Dunn, or will you get a pen name for the adult stuff?
no, I think I'll still use my name. Like we were discussing earlier, my adult stuff isn't going to be like super racy.
Racy. Yeah.
So it will be okay. I think I'll use. Yeah, I'm planning on using my name still.
Another question. Do you listen to music while you're writing?
I do not, because for a long time I had to dictate. And
Oh.
I couldn't listen to music because it interfered with the dictation. So after, I guess, 10 years of that, I just got used to having it be total silence when I write.
Wow.
And do you do any research before you write your books?
Depends on the story. Some stories, yes. Like in particular, I'm working on a story that includes Thai mythology very heavily.
Oh,
So
neat.
before I started
That's
that,
pretty
I
neat.
did a lot of research. But usually for most of my books, I kind of will stop and research as I go along. But my books aren't particularly like research heavy. Like I don't write historicals or anything like that. So
How long does it take you to write a book normally?
about
Any book?
3 months these days.
Wow.
Yeah.
It used to take a lot longer. I think when I got my first contract, it was more like 9 months to a year. But then I guess, as you all know as well, when you get a contract, you have to write faster.
Right.
Of course, like life interrupts. Like I haven't been keeping to that pace this past year and a half because life was very distracting.
Yes, it
That
was.
was
Sure.
one of the questions was about if you're writing more or less since all of the COVID stuff started.
Less. So much less. That's partly because I have 3 kids and they were all at home. Last year, they were in virtual school for almost the whole year.
Wow.
There's also been a lot to manage with the pandemic. So that has been very time consuming and distracting, unfortunately.
Another question. We've got quite a list here. Do you ever ask your readers to help you pick out names of characters or places in your books?
No, but I would, love that. I know people have contests and things.
Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah. It's fun. I just haven't done it, but I would love to because I'm always looking for character names and last names, especially for the minor characters.
Yes.
I don't know what you guys do, but I'm like, oh my gosh, here's another character. I need another name.
And it's like you can only think of the names that you've already used. Like,
I figure out about how old the character is, and then I go look up like popular names from that decade.
Oh, neat.
Like popular names from the 90s or something, if they're 20 somethings and then I just look through the list and go, Melanie, no, Susan, no, and then I'll just make this long, like I have one exactly right here of my list of names.
I'm also like terrible at remembering my characters' names. I once sold a book, and if you're listening, I'm very, very sorry. I once sold a book of Girl on the Verge because the reader thought she had the same name as the main character, but I got confused and it was a different book that had that name. It did have, her name was Cece, and Cece's in The Darkest Lie. And I got confused and thought it was Girl on the Verge because the Girl on the Verge had a bookmark with like some blurbs on it that were about The Darkest Lie. And I sold her this book and she probably went home and was just like, what is this? So Yeah, I'm not very good at remembering my characters' names, especially the secondary characters. I usually remember the main characters, but
Yeah. Pintip, I've done the same thing. I was doing a live stream and I started talking about this character named Gretchen in Race the Darkness. And after I got done with the whole live stream, I remembered I changed her name to Gail in the book. I think it was like an early draft. Her name was Gretchen, not Gail. And I was like, oh crap. So nobody knows who I was talking about because I was using the wrong name.
That's another huge problem because these books go through so many edits and so many versions that sometimes I can't remember which version went into the final book.
Right.
I don't reread my books. I don't know if you all reread your books.
I do.
I don't reread my books.
I do.
Alleys.
Oh, I did it recently. I did it for the first time just this summer. But before that, I was like, if I reread the books, I'll just see all the mistakes.
Yeah.
See what I did wrong, so I can't reread them. So then I don't remember.
Do you ever listen to them on audio?
Nope. Because to me, listening it to an audio is the same as rereading it. So I'll usually listen to the first chapter just because I'm curious to hear the narrator's voice, but I don't listen to it all the way through.
See, I won't reread the book, but I'll listen to it on audio because I feel like I'm more forgiving in audio than I am like actually reading it. So
I listen to on audio because I realized now as I write the books, so because I read right from the book, that sometimes there are things I was doing in the writing that didn't translate well to audio. Like and so I learned a lot. Like so now I'm like, oh, I'm not going to do that attribute because I know it doesn't translate well to the audio.
Oh, that's very true. That's a good point. I have a funny story about that because in Starcrossed, there's also a lot of food descriptions because that book is a science fiction world about eaters and non-eaters. So there's a lot of food. And I didn't listen to the whole book. I listened to the first chapter. And then my friend was like, oh my gosh, the narration was so funny because every time she got to a food description, she was like, yum. Like her voice. Oh, I didn't realize that. So that was really funny.
That's funny.
She was like, my friend was like, I loved it. Like it just made me really hungry.
Okay, we have another question. Is there an author or another person that you look up to in your writing career?
Probably the same as my favorite authors. I mean, I have so many people I could name amongst like my writing circles. Just, people who inspire me every day. I guess that would be my answer. Like, I would say Erica Ridley, as she's my accountability partner. She's like the most productive person I've ever met in my entire life. And she motivates me every day because she's like, oh, this is what I did today. This is how much work I got done. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like I can't do that much, but maybe I can do like a quarter that much. But I think that, but there's so many people like Erica that I can name, just, author friends, people in my author circles who inspire me all the time because they're all so talented and work so hard.
Yeah, I feel the same way.
Yeah. So here's a fun question for the audience to know the answer to. How hard is it to pick a title and cover for your book?
It's a trick question.
I know, right? We're all laughing because you guys may not know the answer. So Pintip will tell you.
Well, some of my titles make it all the way.
Wow.
Dating Makes Perfect was one of them. Forget Tomorrow is one of them. Starcrossed went through about 200 or 300 titles.
Wow.
And by that I mean
That's a lot.
By that I mean like what would happen was they'd be like, no, I don't like this. Give me a list. So I'll give them a list of like 40. And then they're like,
40 titles?
I did that like 5 times. Because they were like, oh, no, we wanted something a little bit more like literary. And I'm like, okay. So I give them like 40 literary titles. And then they pick one. And then they're like, I actually wanted something kind of like more science fiction-y. And I'm like, okay. And they're like, no, maybe something like a little bit more thriller.
Oh my gosh.
I went through this so many times that finally I was like, I don't really know what else you want from me. I've given you so many titles. And then I was, texting with my editor, Liz, and I was like, I don't know. How do you come up with titles? I have no idea. And she was like, well, I usually just, she said, I just come up with like 3 adjectives that I feel like describes the book. And then I go from there. And then I'm like, okay, well, what 3 adjectives do you think describes this book? Because I've, like I said, have come up with like 200 titles. And then she was like, something, something star-crossed. And I was like, oh, that would be a decent title, right? And we're like, yeah, it's not the most, it's probably my least original title, but like, I think it looks good with the cover. And
well, it suits the story.
It was just like, yeah, it goes well with the story. And, and I think of this book as Star-Crossed now, even though it had another name, Fit to Die. Oh, you guys know this because that was it finaled as Fit to Die in 2014. It was Fit to Die for years. But so covers, I've had pretty good luck with my covers, actually.
You've had beautiful covers.
Yeah, there was only one cover that I had issues.
Those are beautiful covers on that series.
Oh yeah, the Forget Tomorrow series are beautiful. But you don't get a lot of say in them, right?
No, I mean they'll show them to me and I'm allowed to make comments, but
I don't think readers realize that as if you're self-published, you have full control over your titles and covers. But when you publish with a publisher, they have chosen every title of mine. I have had
really?
It's whatever they said, because I thought I had good titles, but they hated them. And so they've chosen every title and then they've chosen every cover. And thank God my covers have been decent. You know what I mean? But I've been lucky. Not everybody's so lucky. So we don't normally get control over this. It's the publisher doing it, not us.
We get the email. We hope you love this cover as much as we do.
Yeah, that's what they tell us.
Say that.
Yeah, translation is you better love the cover.
If you don't like it, oh well.
Yeah, exactly.
I think I've turned in they say turn in your title ideas, and I turned in 4 or 5. I can't even imagine trying to come up with 40 at one time.
I mean, I
can't either.
At this point, I'm just like,
next time I need ideas, Pintip, I'm going to message you and be like, could you just give me 5?
Well, and the third book in my Fatal Dream series was supposed to be they agreed to this. To Shatter the Night was going to be the third book title.
That's a great
concept. I know. I thought it was amazing. And so then they said, no, we want something more romantic. So they changed it to Dream Embrace. And I was like, Dream Embrace? Is the third book after Race the Darkness and Hunt the Dawn, then Dream Embrace? And I was like, I really don't like it, but they have to do with it. And then they said, no, we've decided to change it again. It's going to be Never Let Me Fall Now. And I'm like, all right, whatever y'all want to do. And the cover doesn't match the other 2 books. It's like everybody thinks it's a new series because the cover doesn't match. And I'm like, it's them, not me, people.
The funny thing is, Pintip, I thought Fit to Die was a great title for that book.
Well, it was so funny because that was the original title. And then they were like, no, we don't, it's too science fiction name or whatever. And then when they came back to, we want something more science fiction, I was like, how about Fit to Die? We're not amused. We're not amused by you.
Hey, imagine if they had said, that's a great title.
Right?
I amused myself. I was like, I'm just done. There's nothing else I can give you.
So we have another question here. What advice would you give someone if they wanted to become a writer?
Oh gosh.
It's so hard.
Well, I could say what just popped into my head, which is kind of funny. Or I could say my
do both. Do both.
So the advice I always give is to persevere, and nobody else in this world can tell the story the way that you can tell this particular story. Yeah. So if you feel that this story, should exist in this world, you got to write it because nobody else can do it. And those were the things I told myself over and over and over again when I was unpublished. And the other thing that popped into my head, just because the way the question is worded, what kind of advice would you give someone who wants to start writing? I would say, if you don't absolutely have to, It's
Turn
funny.
on Netflix. That's my advice.
I don't mean it to be discouraging. It's just
No,
a
I get it.
really, 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 really hard industry.
It is.
Mhm.
And like to
Yeah.
me, I have to write. Like that's how I feel that I'm most truly myself.
Right.
And I sometimes I only feel like I'm happy when I'm actively writing.
That's a great
Yeah.
answer.
Mhm.
You know, my first writing teacher said to me, why are you writing? Why are you doing this? And it really is such an important question for the writer to ask themselves. I mean, are you doing this because you really want to create and craft for yourself? You know, it's something that you need to do, because if you're doing it for, you know, money or what have you, you're going to run into a lot of roadblocks that are going to quickly discourage you. So,
Yes. It's a hard industry. And it's
It is.
no matter how successful you are, I promise you that you don't stay at that level. It's all ups and downs and ups and downs and ups and downs. And yeah, it's hard.
Well, and I think it's also really hard on your mental health, even. Like if you are not mentally in a space where you can handle rejection and criticism, you know, you got to get there before I think you can even really be serious about being a writer.
Because sometimes I say that I feel like I get rejected every single day.
It feels that way.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it feels
it
that way.
does.
And it's like, you know, sometimes it's just a review, or sometimes it's like, oh, you know, these sales aren't as good as we want them to be. Like whatever it is, you get rejected in 100 different ways, and that's hard to put yourself through. And so I would say, unless you absolutely have to do it, like, you know, you might be happier doing something else.
The only thing
I also really encourage you to follow your dream. I do encourage that.
You have to do it. Like it's a hard job, but if you have a deadline and you signed up to do it, like you usually, I think it's so funny when people are like, oh my gosh, you finished writing a book, so what do you take, like a couple months off now, or you know, have a little break? And it's like,
No.
I'm gonna take the weekend and then I'm gonna start again on Monday on the next one. So yeah, it's a hard, like having really hard homework every single day.
Yeah. But you know what sometimes gets me through like the industry stuff is that when you read like the forwards to some of Charles Dickens' books, and he had this whole long like letter writing campaign with some of the authors in the United States, like all of the stuff they had to go through. It's like you realize it's just the industry. It's not personal, because if they had to do it and you're still doing the same thing that they were doing back then.
don't make it personal. That's great advice. Yeah.
Yeah, so you can't make it personal, because if Charles Dickens and Edgar Allan Poe and Nathaniel Hawthorne all had to put up with it, then you're just going to put up with it too. It's just the way the industry is.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
And you know, an odd thing I do to help myself feel better sometimes is I'll go to somebody like really great, like Stephen King or Nora Roberts, and I'll literally go to their 1-star reviews and look at their 1-star reviews, because I think, okay, well, if people can hate them, it's all right if they hate me. You know, like,
And they all have them.
yeah, everybody does.
Thing. Like if I read a book and I think it's like phenomenal, the best book I've read all year, I'll go look at their 1-stars and I'll be like, holy moly, like there are people in this world who think this is not a good book.
Mhm.
You know, it teaches you not to take things so personally. Anyhow, I don't really need to be so pessimistic there. I do think it's, you know, amazing to follow your dream. But, you know, the thing is, if you want it, just keep working at it. Like I was rejected 150 times before I got my first offer.
Oh, wow.
Wow, that's amazing.
Really? 150?
100 by 100 agents and by about 50 editors after I got an agent.
Oh, Pintip, that just gave me goosebumps. Wow, you had some perseverance there.
So, I mean, I'm the poster child of rejection here. So,
And you are an amazing writer. So
Yeah.
And you're a New York Times bestseller.
So that's inspirational there.
Yes, right there.
Okay, good.
Right there.
All right. So I think we're coming slowly to the end of our live stream, because we have to stop at the top of the hour. So we're going to, want to get one more question for Pintip from all these great questions that are
Yeah,
here
we have a lot.
before
We just haven't get a chance.
Yeah,
to
we
get
haven't been
to.
able to get to them all. Yeah.
I'm just going through them quickly.
Someone asked, would you want to be self-published or have a publisher? So would you ever want to self-publish?
I would. I've had a publisher so far, but I'm definitely interested in self-publishing. I think it's a completely fascinating and new business. I mean, I feel like it's quite different than having a traditional publisher, and I would really love to explore that one day.
Would you do something totally different, or would you,
I think I
stick
would.
with YA? Or yeah,
I
that
wouldn't
would be
stick with
fun.
YA. I think I'd write some fun adult romance.
Ooh, okay. There you go.
She's got a certain smile. I think she's got an
Yeah.
idea already.
Well,
She might be out
great.
there. We don't know.
in that case, I would write under a pen name, so then I
Yeah.
wouldn't have any of the insecurities about. I was telling these authors about, when you're used to writing YA romance, you don't have to write sex scenes. If
Right.
you write adult romance, it could be closed door, but still there has to be some sort of sex scenes.
Touching,
If I had
yeah.
a pen name, I wouldn't have to feel insecure about anything.
All right. Well, we're going to keep an eye out.
Yeah, I'm sorry we're not getting to all the questions, but I think we got to most of them.
Yeah. We
So I
did, and
apologize.
we'll try to get to get in there if we have it. If we can go through the questions and provide answers, we'll try to get in there and do that too.
Okay.
So after the broadcast.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, sounds great.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. This was so much fun. It was incredible, and we look forward to what you're releasing next. What was that again? I'm sorry, I forgot the title.
Oh, I don't actually have a release coming up, but Dating Makes Perfect just came out as a webcomic.
That's
Oh,
right.
cool.
That's
Yeah,
right.
like a week and a half ago, and it's adorable. It's like so.
It is.
It is adorable.
So if anybody wants to check out the
Yeah.
webcomic, because it's a really like a completely different way to experience the story. It's on the Pocket Comics app and super easy. You don't need an account. The first 8 episodes are free,
Oh,
and
fun.
just go search for Dating Makes Perfect.
That's really neat.
That
That
is
is really
that
neat.
is a US only app, though, I have to say. So
Okay. No, definitely look into that. That's great. I remember you mentioned that like a week ago.
yes,
Yes, I
Yeah,
can't
that
wait
was
to see that.
interesting.
but yeah, it's super fun.
All righty.
Well, it was so
thank
great
you so
seeing
very
you.
much.
Pintip.
Yeah, you too. I'm so excited to be here. It was so fun to talk to everybody.
All righty. Well, we'll see you later.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye, Pintip.
Okay. So we only have a couple minutes. So I really wanted to hear more about that comic too, because that is such a cool thing.
So we're going to really quickly just talk about our next book that we're
Right.
going to read next month. And Sharon has our questions. I think, Sharon, aren't you
Yes.
the one that has the full
Yeah.
questions? So
I
for
am.
those of you that are new and just watching our first live stream, we have, as kind of a prelude to the next book coming up, we do a little poll, and Sharon's going to list off 4 answers to a question, and then we'll post it in our group, and then you all throughout the next, I don't know, what is it, a couple days, week, something, post which one of us you think belongs to which answer. So Sharon, get away with our book-related question.
The next book we're reading for next month has a wine vineyard related theme. So we thought we would list 4 types of wine, and you have to choose which one of us likes which type of wine. So which one of us prefers rosé? Which one prefers buttery Chardonnay? Which one prefers Pinot Grigio? And which one prefers Moscato? So 4 choices, 4 authors, just pick and choose, see who's right.
We
might have done this before, so if you've been in the group, you might have an advantage. But
yeah, and we should be posting. We should be posting these questions in our Facebook, in the Isn't It Romantic Facebook group. So keep your eye open today or tomorrow for those questions to actually go up for you guys to vote. So,
and we also love to do a fun prop to give you just a tiny hint about what the next book is about. So
it's really not historical, but I look like a queen here.
You do.
You do.
Queen Diana.
I look like the
Lush
Monica
Money.
Cass novel.
Our next
Oh.
read is Lush Money by Angelina Lopez. We're so excited.
I'm so excited.
All
So
right,
it's a steamy contemporary romance.
Very steamy.
Very steamy.
Okay,
Sorry,
we're ready
it hurts.
for it. All right, everybody. We'll see you back here next month.
Good night.
Bye. Thanks for joining us.